All right, so I'm gonna do another quiz, and basically this is the protected routes quiz. So I'm gonna reference my project while I answer this quiz and kind of explain what's going on here. So how did we change our route definitions in order to protect certain routes from an unlogged in user? So basically, we changed our route definitions. If we go here, we see that we have a route called protected. And what this route will render onto the screen is a H1 that says this route is protected. But what we did was we wrapped this route into an element called auth required, or let's just say another route. And what auth required is doing is that it's loading up the component and it's checking if the user is logged in. So if the user is not logged in or false, then we're going to return a navigate component. And what this navigate component or function, I'm not sure what it's called coming out of React Router DOM, will do is it will kind of work like a link, but instead of having to click to the link, the navigate will automatically redirect. So basically, to reiterate, we go ahead and we made our route called protected, and we can navigate to this route using a link to protected. So this link right here will link us to protected. This will take us home. And if the user is logged in, so true, then we will return this outlet down here, meaning we don't have to put this in an else statement, but we can, but it doesn't matter. So if the user is logged in is true, then we'll return this outlet. And since this is the parent, since auth required is the parent of protected, that outlet is going to render our protected route. So we should get this is a protected, or this route is protected. And that's exactly what's going to happen now. So if we go ahead and click in, we'll get this route is protected. But if we go in and we change this to false, and I'm getting this annoying thing right here. Geez, I have to wait for this to finish. I didn't even write any code. This is annoying. Okay. So if we change this to false, and let's just start from homepage. If this is false, then we're going to instead return the outlet, or we're going to instead return the navigate, which is going to navigate to the /login route. And I forgot to say what happens when we get to the /login route. The /login route is just going to load up the element of login, and it's going to render up this component, and it's going to say please log in. So when we click, we'll get please log in. So we're basically just conditionally rendering either the outlet, which will load up our protected component, or the navigate, which is going to load up our login component. And depending on whether or not the user is logged in or not, that is how we will choose to render these two. So question number 2, what component can we use to automatically send someone to a different route? That was the navigate component right here. So it'll automatically redirect instead of link, where you would have to click on it. And then what component can we render if the user is logged in? So if the user is logged in, then we can go ahead and run our outlet. And one thing to keep in mind is that when we go ahead and switch over to the data layer API, we're not going to be able to use this. And I want to explain why, just in case I come back to this in the future. The reason why we aren't going to be able to use this when using the data layer API and using loaders is because the way that the components fetch the data. So this way that we're doing right now, the component will load up and then we'll fetch the data. But when we're using loaders, first the loader will run. So first we will fetch the data from the API, and then only when that data is fetched, then will we render up the component. So this is basically not going to work because we are kind of assuming that we are going to load up the data after the component has already rendered, which is not the way that the data layer API works when we are using loaders. So that's why it wouldn't work with this method. But I think that's pretty much it for this.